So Kate, why don't we just jump straight in? I love a good lightning round just to get to know you a little bit better. So jumping right in, hometown.
So I grew up in Andover, Massachusetts. It's a small town about 30 minutes north of Boston. Went to school in New York, went to New York University, spent some time in New York City for a few years, as every young, optimistic person should. And then I ran away a few years later, and I'm back in Boston now, which is great.
Love it, love it, love Boston. First job.
So my first official job where I got a paycheck, right, to declare my income to the IRS was scooping ice cream at Ben & Jerry's.
Oh,
so I did that, spent my summers in Maine when we grew up, and worked in Kennebunkport at a Ben & Jerry's serving ice cream. So talk about delighting customers and engaging customers. Like, no one's in a bad mood when they're getting ice cream.
Never,
and people always say, like, what's your lifelong dream? And my colleagues, anyone that's listening will know this, it's to open my own ice cream store. So one day.
I will be there. I will be there for
Awesome.
that. Places that you'd most want to travel to.
Ooh, well, like everyone on this call, I've planned and canceled many trips during the past couple of years. I'm actually on Friday going to Hawaii, which I'm super excited about.
Nice. Oh,
yes,
so
to celebrate a family member's 80th birthday. So we're really excited. So that's what I'm most looking forward to, because it's like in that perfect moment of like, just have to get through 3 more days, and then I'll be on a plane and drinking a Mai Tai. So I'm quite excited.
Good for you. And very last, what are you currently watching?
Ooh, so the past couple of weekends, I've watched quite a bit of football, actually. The games have been awesome. I know, I'm sure we have many football fans here. I typically am watching for the games and also the commercials, and they've both been really great. But it's been a fun time to be a football fan, even if the Patriots aren't delivering what we hoped they would. But
we'll move on quickly from that.
Fun Super Bowl coming up for sure.
Absolutely. So I think a really good place to start would just to be a little bit to understand your career journey to date, other than the ice cream scooping. So if you could just kind of give us a little bit of a sort of overview as to where you've worked prior to John Hancock, that would be great.
Sure. So as I mentioned, I was fortunate to go to New York University. So a great place to kind of start my career, because I was able to do lots of internships while I was there, right? There's no better place to be than New York City if you're interested in a career in marketing or communications or advertising. So I got to try quite a few things there, and actually started my career at a small broker dealer in New York. And so it was a really great place to start out, because it was a small 300-person company, kind of got to do a little bit of everything, which was awesome, because you learned kind of like what you liked doing, but also like what you really didn't want to do. So, and it wasn't necessarily the big brand or the shiny company, but definitely an awesome learning opportunity, and met some of my dear friends to this day there, which was great. From there, I moved on to Deloitte. So completely opposite, right? Huge, giant global company, so many people, so many roles, in a good way, and just like so much more structure. And that was, I say, like probably the best place that I could have grown up as a marketer. You were just surrounded by amazing thinkers, and there was a great kind of career journey and path and coaching and development plans. And when I was at Deloitte, spent a lot of time working on our digital platforms. So things like delivering webcast series before we were doing this on a regular basis, right? Like that was actually kind of innovative and fun at the time, figuring out our podcast series, bringing that to life, talking about client stories and how we deliver those via digital video. So really great opportunity, great way to tell client stories and really think about opportunities, how you engage clients on a regular basis. About 10 years ago, I moved to John Hancock, started off in a brand role, which arguably is probably one of the most fun jobs to have at the company, especially when you're talking about a 160-year-old, highly trusted, high awareness brand. So did some great work there, have teamed with some really great people through the years. And then I took on the CMO role about a year ago. So it's been fun. And once again, surrounded by a really, really great team. We have awesome leaders, and we're doing some great work that I'm excited to tell you about today.
Fantastic. So I think a really great place to start would be for you to tell us about John Hancock. What do you do?
Sure. So that's a great question, because I mentioned there's a lot of awareness about John Hancock, but then if you ask someone what we did, like some people are like, oh, don't you guys sell life insurance? Oh, are you my retirement plan provider? I think I have a 529 with you for my kids. And like the answer is yes to all of those questions. So John Hancock actually has 10 million customers throughout the US, and we help customers with a variety of their financial needs. So we help you protect your wealth, and that's through things like our life insurance products. We also, through the years, had offered annuities and long-term care as well. So some of those customers are still our existing customers, even if we're not selling those things today. And then on the wealth side of the house, we help you grow your wealth, and that's through our retirement products, through things like our mutual funds, our ETFs, 529s for college savings. So kind of, think of us as someone that can help you grow your wealth or protect your wealth when you think of John Hancock.
Amazing. And is this part of a larger group, John Hancock?
Yes. So John Hancock, we operate as that brand in the US, but we're actually owned, in 2004, we were acquired by a company called Manulife. And Manulife is based in Toronto, much like John Hancock, right? A long-standing brand. John Hancock, I mentioned, is 160 years old. Manulife has a similar tenure in market. And the good news is, well, we have two different brands. So we operate as John Hancock in the US, Manulife in Canada, throughout Asia and a few other markets. There's a lot more similar about us than different. So most important, and the thing I think people should keep in mind for today's conversation, is we have a shared mission, which is decisions made easier, lives made better. And while we don't necessarily go out to the external market saying like, this is our mission, everything we do day in and day out for our customers, for our communities, for our employees should align to that mission. And it's a really good kind of guiding North Star. And I hope you see, as I talk through some examples today, how that really is infiltrated into all of our day-to-day work for our customers. The other thing we share is this bold ambition, which is really to be that most digital customer-centric company in our industry. And so that's like a big, lofty statement,
that's
right?
a really big one.
Once again, it pushes us every day to really think about how we can get better and how we can put the customer and the voice of the customer at the center of everything we do. So it's an amazing, consistent kind of thread that weaves through our organization, and everyone understands it, everyone believes in it, and that guides our decisions day to day. Lastly, we share the same corporate values. And at a lot of companies, you're like, oh, corporate values, those are just on a wall. Like the good news about Manulife and John Hancock is that we live those values every single day. So things like get it done together, think big, sharing your humanity, doing the right thing, that you are expected as a John Hancock employee or a Manulife employee to demonstrate those values on a day-to-day basis. So it's not just what we do, but it's how we do it day in and day out that really leads this high-performing team that I'm fortunate to work with on a daily basis.
That's amazing. So what products are you selling? Because again, this is pretty big in terms of everything that you have to offer.
Yes, we have quite a bit to offer. And my role specifically is focused on our US segment business, which is really that life insurance business that I talked about before. So life insurance, I'm sure many of the people on the call have bought it. Essentially, you purchase life insurance so that if something was to happen to you and you were no longer here, your family or your loved ones or anyone else that is important to you would be taken care of. So at John Hancock, really, we make that promise to customers, and as you buy a product with us, and at the end of the day, we have to deliver on that promise. So we have to be there for you when your family needs us, right? And so even if you're not here, we have to deliver on that promise day in and day out. So my role is really focused on our life insurance business, obviously growing and protecting our brand, engaging customers, and really telling our story in new and innovative ways.
Got it. So are you a D2C brand?
So we are not. So we have, through the years, we've definitely kind of dabbled in D2C, and we decided that we should keep doing what we do best, which is selling life insurance through intermediaries. At John Hancock, we call those people producers. You might know them as agents, advisors, but it's essentially someone that you would go to if you had a need for life insurance for your family. You would go to one of these people, you'd say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. This is the type of coverage I want. There's different types of life insurance you can buy depending on your need and your financial situation and all that good stuff. But this producer will really help you find the right solution for you. And so while today we want to talk mainly about consumer engagement, like our first touch point is with that producer. So we have to deliver that amazing experience for these producers so that they will continue to work with us, continue to recommend us to customers. So equally important to that end consumer engagement is really that producer engagement. They ultimately are our best brand advocates, and they really have to believe in us. And those relationships that we foster with them are hugely important to our business. So we very much value that part of our consumer ecosystem.
That's amazing. So if I get this right then, so basically you're selling via intermediaries and partners, but you're still actually marketing to the end consumer.
Exactly. So think of us as kind of a B2B to C brand, right? So at the end of the day, a producer recommends us, but an end consumer has to feel really good about the brand, right? And they have to trust us. And, you know, I mentioned earlier, we're a highly trusted brand, and I'd argue in something like financial services, specifically life insurance, like you really have to trust your carrier. So kind of having those customers aware of us and understanding what sets us apart and how we can, you know, how we can add value to their lives, not just kind of in that moment where there's a beneficiary situation, but kind of day to day. Like that's our ultimate challenge, is how do we make life insurance relevant to someone's everyday?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So then can you describe the consumer for John Hancock? Who is it? Who is it you're targeting?
Yeah, so you know, we have 10 million customers, so there's certainly quite a variety in terms of the people and the end consumer.
Yeah.
We do have those consumers, as I mentioned before, that have bought products with us years and years ago, and like we still have that ultimate responsibility to deliver on the promises we made to them. So that's a very important part of our kind of consumer or end customer pool, and they matter quite a bit. And then at the end of the day, you know, we have these new customers that are buying life insurance from us. Some of them are younger, some of them are older. You really see quite a variety in terms of kind of life stage, income, things like that in terms of that customer base. And then as we kind of leave the life insurance business, you have to remember as well that our wealth business is also kind of driven by that intermediary or advisor market as well. But things like our retirement programs, right? An organization would choose to partner with John Hancock to provide retirement assistance. And so those customers are, you know, quite a variety of people as well. So the good news is we have quite a diverse customer base, and that allows us to kind of customize programs and opportunities based on those people.
Amazing. So you really are defining product line with different profiles, because different ages, different incomes, etc., depending on products associated with who you're trying to be in front of. So,
exactly. You know, I mentioned there's all different types of life insurance, and at the end of the day, that's the role of the producer, right? Is to really help an end customer understand what's right for them, and then John Hancock can provide that. So that's why that partnership is so important to us.
Amazing. So I would imagine that you have got a lot of data. I mean, especially with so many clients, but what can you use any of that data? How do you go about thinking from a marketing perspective to put value in front of these clients?
Right. So, I mean, it's a great question. And it's a question as marketers, you know, we're all asked on a daily basis, right? Like it's amazing to work at a time where so much data is available, but it's also a huge responsibility for a brand and for me as a leader, right? And leveraging that data in the right way, in the way that's right for our customers. And so, you know, I talked about our mission of decisions made easier, lives made better. And a lot of those decisions are data-based decisions. So it's certainly important in driving our business forward. It's a powerful tool to help us meet that mission. So we can't lose sight of that. But more importantly, is like we are so steadfast in how we try to protect that data. And we, once again, make that commitment to our customers, and they have to trust us that that data is only used in ways that they're aware of. It's only used for, you know, certain programs that they've agreed to. It's all voluntary. And so really maintaining that trust and kind of that shared value model of data is hugely important. And I know it's a challenge that every marketer is facing today, but never sharing that data with third parties as well is part of our data governance.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, especially life insurance, it is such an interesting, I mean, it's something that I never even thought about until probably fairly recently. So, you know, it must be quite challenging because you're kind of questioning your own mortality. And that isn't the most, I mean, that's quite to actually market this value is it's quite a challenge. So how do you think about this? How do you go to market with this type of, like, what is the messaging? Because I know that you've created some very interesting partnerships. Maybe you could talk a little bit more about that.
Sure, absolutely. So you're right. Life insurance, it's an interesting thing to buy because you'll never really benefit from it, right? You're buying it for your family or for another beneficiary. So, and it also, you know, when you hear about life insurance, kind of the first thing that comes to mind lots of times is dying. And like, that's not necessarily the thing you want to be associated with as a brand. So it's an interesting proposition, right? It's a great responsibility. You're doing right by your family. You should really always feel good about buying life insurance. But what we've done at John Hancock is we've really kind of changed the game there. And so in 2015, we actually launched a partnership with a company called Vitality, which is really kind of this interesting shared value model on life insurance. So if you show us, you're doing things like going to the doctor, exercising, eating healthy foods, getting your vaccines, in theory, you're going to live a longer life, right? And so we'll benefit from that as an organization. So we should share that benefit with you. And like, certainly one major benefit of that is just living longer and living, that longer, healthier life that we want all of our customers to live. And that's ultimately probably the most important benefit. But we also bake in things like rewards with some large brands you would know there. And then you can also save up to 25% on your premium if you're demonstrating that you are making these healthy choices on a day-to-day basis. And that doesn't mean like you're running marathons and you're only drinking green juice. Like, these are kind of everyday things that we're all doing to kind of, make that smart choice one day at a time. And you'll see that like over time, those smart choices add up and you benefit from it. And actually, in terms of kind of explaining it, if we have time, just a quick video that might kind of help bring it to life for everyone.
Please. Okay, so I think it's the first video.
So it's the Vitality video. It should be labeled.
I think, there you go.
Buying life insurance is one of the most important things you can do. After all, it's not just about planning for your financial future, but also having peace of mind that your loved ones are protected. When we created John Hancock Vitality, we combined all the benefits of traditional life insurance with the one-of-a-kind program that rewards people for the everyday things they do to live a longer, healthier life. No matter how big or small those things are. Our customers love Vitality so much that they're twice as likely to recommend Vitality compared to other life insurance. That's because Vitality is helping our customers save money at the grocery store, on hotel stays, on the latest wearables, and more. There's even a chance to win gift cards from top retailers. Not to mention, our customers can save up to 25% off their premium. What's more, Vitality can help people make the most of every day. Our customers report they are more active and are losing weight. They're also learning how to get better rest for their body and their mind. Vitality even has special tools and resources specifically for people living with diabetes. More than 4 out of 5 customers say Vitality has positively impacted their lives. Find out what all the excitement is about. Ask about a policy with John Hancock Vitality today.
Awesome. So probably a much more articulate description of the program than I provided, but ultimately the differentiator in Vitality, right? It is that shared value proposition, which is really important to customers. But at the end of the day, it's this ongoing opportunity to engage with our consumers, right? So as I mentioned before, you buy life insurance and like you pay your premium once a year and you kind of want to just like set it and forget it a little bit. But this is a really good opportunity to remind people that life insurance is one part of a bigger financial decision, a bigger part of decision you make for your life. And health is just, an equally, or if not more important part of that decision. So through this partnership with Vitality, we engage with customers on a daily basis. They tell us what they're doing. They tell us when they're exercising. They tell us when they're going to the doctor, because they're going to benefit with those rewards and premium discounts and those kind of healthy outcomes that the video talked about as well. So it's really kind of changed the game and helped us kind of create that direct relationship with those consumers.
Yeah, and I love it that it is a two-way street. You're really encouraging your clients to be healthier, and it's kind of good for everyone. So I love that sort of value proposition that you've kind of got in front of your clients. And also what I really love as well is that I've noticed that you're providing a service for specific groups who have difficulty potentially getting life insurance. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. So you saw in that video there that, we do have a life insurance option for people living with diabetes. And so it's a really good example of how we listen to the voice of the customer. We understand those consumer needs and we address those consumer needs.
Yeah.
Diabetes, huge challenge for us in the United States. I think it's the 7th leading cause of death. And I think there's over 80 million people in the United States living with pre-diabetes, about 30 million people living with type 2 diabetes, and about 1 million people living with type 1 diabetes. So, huge population that has to, manage their diabetes on a daily basis. But all of these people still need access to life insurance, right? And access to life insurance with Vitality is a huge benefit in terms of helping people lead those longer, healthier lives. So this partnership we have, our product is called Aspire. It's life insurance for people living with diabetes. And so in addition to that Vitality program that we talked about, it also has allowed us to have some other partnerships that help people get access to the tools and the resources to help them manage their diabetes. So partnerships with a company called Onduo, which is essentially like an online health clinic for people living with diabetes. So lots of resources, tools, access to experts, hugely, hugely important. And that's a joint venture with Verily, which is part of Alphabet. So kind of Google's Google's company, and that's really kind of great access to just health information in general. So it's really a good example of, leveraging data, providing tools and resources to consumers, helping them get that end need of actually being able to buy life insurance. And once again, like hearing what's happening in the world and how can John Hancock help influence that or fix a challenging situation, which, getting life insurance when you have diabetes is a challenge. And so we've chosen to address that. I actually have another quick video if people want to understand kind of how we talk about Aspire to the external market. And that one's a little bit quicker, I promise.
The story of your life is made of many details. Diabetes is just one of them. So it shouldn't keep you from getting quality life insurance. John Hancock Aspire is the first and only life insurance designed for people living with diabetes, offering savings of up to 25% on your premium. Get a free quote at johnhancock.com/aspire.
That's fantastic. That's so great. I love these partnerships that you're building as well with outside partners to really create sort of positive engagement for your client base. I know that you've also done something extremely interesting with Allstate. Would you mind just expanding a little bit on that one?
Sure. So partnerships are a huge part of our success at John Hancock with Vitality. So anyone that's a John Hancock customer, you can report kind of your activity and any other healthy behaviors through wearables. So we have a great partnership with Apple, with the Amazon Halo, with Fitbit. So kind of a lot of those leading tech partners. And once again, those are things people are, wearing, leveraging on a day-to-day basis. So how do we fit into that as opposed to like, how do we expect them to come fit into our world? That's asking way too much from a consumer.
Yeah.
And Allstate's another really good example of that. So John Hancock now is one of 3 carriers Allstate can sell our life insurance policies, which is great. But we also recently teamed with Allstate to reward Vitality points for people that are, deemed safe drivers through that Allstate program. So just as much as we reward people for, making the right food choices or going for a walk or going to the doctor, like getting in your car every day and choosing to, follow the speed limit and make other safe choices about driving is also going to help you live that longer, healthier life. Yep. So you should be rewarded for it. So once again, it's something else that's happening in the market. It's something else, people understand how that works and the shared value component. So it only made sense for us to connect with Allstate on that. So we're really, really excited about the partnership.
That's amazing. And would you mind just explaining a little bit more about that Apple devices as well? Because I think that's really interesting.
Sure. So, all of us have our wearables on a daily basis.
Try to.
Right, exactly.
Failing
So
miserably, but
sometimes too much, and you'd almost have to take it off and just step away for a minute. But ultimately, that really helps automate the process, right? Because we say we want to make life insurance like easy to buy and fun to own, but also easy to own. So at the end of the day, kind of automating a lot of that reporting is super helpful, and it just kind of makes this the Vitality partnership part of everyone's like everyday life, right? And it's not extra work, it's just rewards and incentives for the things that you're already doing. And so that's just a really good example of how we've been able to kind of partner with some tech partners to bring that to life. I mean, technology partners in general are really, really important for us. I mentioned that idea of making life insurance, easy to buy and fun to own. And the reality is for those of you on this call that have bought life insurance or have, through the years, I remember growing up, like one day someone came to our house and like took my mom's blood and weighed her. And I was like, what is going on here? And then she explained life insurance to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're going to die. So, it's kind of, it's a process. It's a very in-person process. And it takes a long time. And through, partnerships with a company called Claretto and Human API, like we can leverage electronic health records and kind of speed up some of that process. So making the buying process a lot simpler and making it tech enabled has been hugely important for us as well.
Yeah, no, I'd imagine. And has there been sort of a change to your consumer, especially obviously, again, this pandemic's been going on for quite some time now, but again, you start to think about yourself, your health, a little bit more. So how has that changed the way you think about from the last couple of years, your consumer habits, so to speak?
So, I mean, we all know, right? Unfortunately, death has been in the news quite a bit over the last few years, but we've seen, people being much more aware of their health and the choices that we make. And we all know, with COVID, if you had underlying health conditions or challenges, you were much more susceptible to being really, really challenged if you were to contract COVID. So, being healthier, living healthier lives has been much more top of mind for people. I mean, we saw, it was probably about a year ago now, right? It was, I forget whose survey it was offhand, but the top 3 concerns for Americans were family number 1, health number 2, and security number 3. And security included things like financial security. So if you think about life insurance, right, and that trifecta, like that's the perfect kind of combination or time for us to be available and accessible to consumers to help kind of meet that need. So as health has been top of mind for people are more aware of their health, taking kind of more deliberate actions to address their health. We're a really great partner once again in rewarding you for that and helping kind of share that benefit with you. And at the same time, offering you that ultimate protection of life insurance for your family if you were to need it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's really interesting. And, again, everything that we've talked about is kind of filtering back to your brand and John Hancock. And obviously the trust is extremely important. So, how are you kind of your website, for example? I mean, I have to say, I'm a huge fan of your website. I think congratulations. It's really easy to navigate. It's very educational. Whoever's on this call, please go and check it out because, I spent hours looking at the wealth map of America, and there's some very interesting facts and pieces of information that are relevant, especially for what's happening in the world today. So, how did that go about? Because for you, it must have taken some convincing from an investment standpoint. How did that come to fruition?
Sure. So digital transformation, and that includes our website, right, has been a priority for us for the past few years. And certainly, COVID accelerated a lot of the need to for that digital transformation to bring it to life, right? But it also kind of helped us speed things up a bit. And so once again, the website's one example of that, but being able to, buy our products in kind of a more tech-enabled way is another example of that. Even things like our customer service options. So just things as simple as like having chat available, making our phone numbers like really easy to find because they weren't really that easy to find before, because some people do want to call, some people do want to go on a social channel and ask for help that way. Some people want to self-serve through our website, which is what we've really focused on during the last few years. So thank you for those kind words, and that the investment wasn't necessarily hard because it was the right thing to do for our customers. And so ultimately, like all of the decisions that we make, it's like, how is this going to serve the customer? How is this going to make their experience better? how is it going to align to that mission that I talked about earlier? And so, improving our website was a huge priority there. We have a really amazing, strong team of human-centered design experts, research experts that are listening to the customer, an amazing digital team, a great design team, a great copy team, and they're all working together to really put this customer at the center of everything we do. And so that's that website experience that you just talked about. It's all customer driven, and on a regular basis, we're looking at those satisfaction scores and verbatims, and making improvements. And people's expectations have changed quite a bit, but it's not this time of before the pandemic and after, they're constantly changing. So you have to be listening to the customer on a regular basis and understanding that what was true yesterday is probably not going to be true tomorrow. And so how are we agile? How are we listening to that? How are we thinking about the experience kind of in real time?
No, absolutely. Actually, we've got an interesting question from Dave Edwards. Kate, you spent 7 years at Deloitte. How did that job prepare you for your current role? And I think actually a lot of what you just said is probably a good example, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, we had mentioned before, or I had mentioned before, that Deloitte was a really great organization to kind of grow up in terms of my marketing career, right? And ultimately, what's happening in the industry, what's happening at the whole, and seeing how does that impact businesses? How can this improve your business? Where might this be a challenge? What could be a watch out there? So once again, it's really listening to both the customer and the world as a whole, taking those trends, taking that data, but then humanizing them and figuring out what makes sense for that end customer. And that customer could be a person, or in the case of Deloitte, that customer is a business, right? But at the end of the day, you're really taking those insights and then figuring out how they're going to help address a business or a human need.
Yep, no, absolutely. I've got another good question here from Steve. Hey, Kate, how do you think about customer loyalty in this category? Have you seen programs like Vitality improve loyalty and reduce churn?
Yes, absolutely. So, customer loyalty, incredibly important. As I mentioned before, in the past, before a program like Vitality, you get, you'd pay your premium and that would be it, right? And there's a big gap of time between when you pay one premium and the next premium where, frankly, loyalty can be a real challenge. So once again, getting those rewards on a regular basis is hugely important to keeping people engaged. And when you're engaged, you're just more loyal. But actually, we had an interesting kind of to answer that question in kind of a more real-time example. John Hancock, we are the principal sponsor of the Boston Marathon. So arguably one of the most kind of prestigious elite races in the world. We've been a principal sponsor for over 30 years, really important to our organization. We've raised over $400 million for nonprofit partners in partnership with the Boston Athletic Association. So it's great in terms of almost demonstrating that shared value for a sponsorship as well. But this year we decided to actually offer some opportunities to run in the marathon to some of our Vitality customers. Brilliant. So we were able to see, and it's funny actually, during this call, some of them are learning that they're going to be running. So it's two great things happening. And be on the lookout kind of for more information about this program because we were really excited to share it. But we were able to see, Vitality members that were doing those kind of long endurance events, because for anyone here that's run a marathon, you can't just, the marathon's in the middle of April, if you're not really already kind of endurance event ready, it's probably going to be pretty hard to get up to speed in a couple months. Yeah. But we were able to see the members that had done activities like that because they chose to report that to us, and we told them, you have this opportunity to run a race, but to run the Boston Marathon, but tell us what it would mean to you. And so it was just marketing 101, user generated content, but the amount of videos that we got back, and unfortunately we didn't, we only had 50 slots, but we got some amazing stories back from members saying how the Vitality program has helped them, recover from injuries, make smarter nutrition decisions, keep them motivated. One person that submitted a video is just saying, every time she gets her reward, she chooses a Starbucks card, and she just sends it to her dad because he loves getting us, what dad doesn't love getting, a free Starbucks card in the mail. And so just very simple human examples of how this program has become part of everyday life. And the willingness for these customers to be true brand advocates has been amazing. And I'm so excited to see them cross the finish line in just a few months.
That's fantastic. Do you think you'll run?
I will not run, but I will be there cheering.
That's the best. That's better.
I joke that my team runs the marathon because they oversee the sponsorship, but I'm pretty sure it's much more of a feat to actually run the marathon.
So look, we've only got a few minutes left, but I would love to know a little bit more about and understand your internal customer, obviously being the CMO, and a little bit in terms of also, how does your role support all of these businesses? Like, what is your sort of internal, who are you representing internally?
Sure, absolutely. So when we say marketing at John Hancock, right, and the role of the CMO, that's kind of overseeing the whole breadth of kind of what you would, what any one of us would consider marketing. So things like brand and sponsorship that I mentioned earlier, product marketing. So, life insurance products, like there's all sorts of different products, and like we need a really strong product marketing team that could explain the benefits and the nuances of those things. We have a really strong human-centered design and research team that I mentioned as well. So getting those customer insights on a regular basis, and customer experience team. So NPS is a hugely important metric for us. So kind of taking those NPS insights and then democratizing those throughout the organization. So not just marketing knows what's going on, every single person knows what's going on and what's going well and what we need to focus on and what we really need to prioritize for the customer is hugely important. Another very important area to us is our advanced analytics team. So leveraging things like analytics, artificial intelligence to once again improve the customer experience, to kind of predict servicing intents, figure out what the customer needs in advance, right? So that we can continue to kind of deliver on those needs in an efficient way. So the customer has that great experience. So that's kind of what marketing at John Hancock is. And I mentioned the customer, but like everyone at John Hancock owns the customer, right? And I don't mean own and we're in charge, but we are all responsible for the customer and the customer experience. And, we do that through what we call our continuous delivery organization. So we actually look at those customer journeys, both for those producers that I talked about, and then the end customer as well, and kind of understand everyone's role across those journeys and accountabilities. And that at the end of the day, if we see something that needs to be improved or needs to be better, anyone should speak up about that. So I think kind of that shared responsibility for the customer is hugely important. In terms of kind of internal customer, I think of it more as a partnership. So everyone really believes in the importance of delivering that amazing customer experience that we talked about. Everyone feels accountable to it. So, certainly, marketing should lean in certain areas. Our legal team might need to lean in certain areas. We'll need our finance team if we're doing some paid effort. So everyone has a role to play in delivering on that mission. And, I talked about our values earlier, and one of them is getting it done together. And day to day, everything we do for the customer really is because we can get it done together.
Yeah. Kate, you're amazing. I have to say, like, I could listen to you all day. I love the ideas. I love these partnerships, and I love the value proposition that you give to your clients. I mean, I just think that is really interesting, and really congratulations. It's fantastic.
Thank you. No, this was really fun. And once again, if you want to learn more about the program, feel free to reach out to me. If you just want to talk about John Hancock or anything else, always happy to connect. And this was a great conversation. It flew by.
I know. Thank you so much, Kate.